Alright, so in this tutorial I'm going to go through how to get your robot into Studio Max and get some renderings out. And so what I've done here, hopefully you guys have done some modeling on how you think your robot can move. And so I've gone through and actually positioned the robot that I've been working on into a position so it's a little bit more active, not so static in here. Alright, and so what we're going to do is we're going to set this up to export. And so I have, the way that Studio Max imports Rhino files is going to be by layer as objects. So each one of these guys, torso, head, leg, arm, will come in as a separate components, that you can set and apply materials to. If I can talk. And that's not necessarily what I want. Some of these things are going to be different, so I'm going to use all the joints as one material, and then the chassis as a different material. And so I've gone through, if you look at my layers over here, I have steel type 1, steel type 2, red, and then black. So I have this guy all rigged up and ready to go. So I'm going to go ahead and just select him, and I'm going to go ahead and export. And we're going to do this as a digital exchange file. Alright, so what we're going to do is, once we have that saved, it's going to ask us what kind of schemes we want to go through. And we're going to go ahead and, I have an export set up for Max. If you don't, that's okay. Just hit Edit Schemes like I just did. Okay, I'll just do that again. Edit Schemes. And you can create a new scheme, and then you can rig this up to export. You want to export surfaces as meshes and meshes as meshes. Okay? You hit Close. Hit OK. And it's going to ask you for a polygon count. I'm going to raise this up since I have some rounded surfaces. In the meantime, I'll go ahead and pull up Studio Max. Alright, it says file successfully was written. So I'm going to go ahead and now import. And I'll go to my libraries, documents, somewhere here. There it is, 3 days max. So hit open. It's going to prompt us with a set of questions here. Alright, and so it's going to ask us to rescale. I don't think we should really need to. What you wanted to pay attention to is drive AutoCAD primitives by, and then we wanted to go by layer. Okay, so you hit OK. And okay, so this is done importing this. I took out about 40 seconds for it to run through, and you might have noticed that's loading down the bottom bar there. Now that I'm in Studio Max, I'm going to have to resume Studio Max representation controls. So we can see our robot's in position. And so now what we can do is we use our selection tools. We can select the materials as they were divided up. Okay. And so what we can do then is, first thing we need to do is we need to set up a daylighting system, and we need a ground plane. So I'm going to go ahead and create a ground plane. Delete the extra guy out of there. Okay, delete. Alright, and so we can go ahead and set up our daylighting system by going into the systems over here on the side, and then daylight. And it's going to prompt us if we want to create a daylight system, and we're going to go ahead and hit yes. And then I've clicked, it's going to ask me if I'm going to create a Mr. Sky and a physical sky, and you want to hit yes as well. And then we can, once we do that, we can release that. And all this is a representation, so the farther we zoom in or out, the representation is never going to change for that. But then we can come over here and set the date and time. So I'm going to set this to, let's go for 6 p.m., so 18th hour, the 7th month. This sun angle looks like it'll be alright. I'll look at the location, get some Topeka, or if you guys have the GPS for Manhattan, you guys can do that. Alright, and then we want to go to Modify tab up top and just make sure we have Mental Ray Sky or Mr. Sky and Mr. Sun. And then if we press F10, which I'm not going to do because that messes with my recording device, just go to Render Setup. And we're going to go ahead and load a preset. So we're going to go ahead Mental Ray Daylighting. And this is going to load the environment and a couple other features here. So hit OK. Then we can do a quick test render. And things look pretty good. Alright, so from here now what we can do is we can set up our materials. And I'm just going to go ahead and move this off to the side. And so I don't accidentally place another sun, I'm just going to go ahead and go into my selection tools. And then I'm going to press M for materials. And you guys are going to have the slate editor. If you want to change the mode, you can just go to modes, change it to compact editor. And then from here we can come over and I'm just going to have the architectural and design. These are Mental Ray materials. So we click on that, we can set up the materials. So this is a Mental Ray, so it'll render properly. Is it okay? And I'm just going to apply that to the ground plane. Alright, and then from there we can take each one of these swatches and adjust it. I'm going to make this robot nice and shiny. Base color, I'll set that to red. Okay, apply that material to the geometry. Let's do a quick test render. And as you guys add more materials, this is going to make things render a little bit more complexly. Here, Arc and Design. Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. So we're going to go ahead and let's do a diffuse map. So we'll do a bitmap. So what I did is under the diffuse Arc and Design, I click this little gray button, and then I set bitmap. And then we can go to our entourage. Some material maps in here somewhere. I'm going to set that to gunmetal. That open. So it's going to give us a gunmetal, and then we're going to change this to planar from object, use real world scale, and again we'll do a quick test render. But I should probably apply that to the material to the object first. You can see the environment is starting to refract off of his armor. He's looking pretty good. So next we're going to set up another material. And I'm going to go ahead and put the bitmap. We'll do a brushed metal for this one. For this, let's see if I can come down here and do a little bit of editing. Reflections, reflectivity, and let's see here. It doesn't look like there's anything I really want to map onto this. And actually, I'm going to change this from car paint. I'm going to set the color to red. Okay. And special self-illumination. I'm going to let this thing start to self-illuminate, so it's going to glow a little bit. Filter. Okay. Let's hit render now. See what we get. Alright. So that's looking pretty clean. Alright. So now what we want to do is we want to just position our camera. Actually, I'm going to do one more thing just because I went through this before in class. I'm going to give this a little bit of a displacement map. So if we go under displacement down here, set this to a dent, or you can use, well, let's use cellular. Alright, and go ahead and hit let's see here. Oh, it's just going to control that output here. So we can go ahead and re-render this. And in here where we have that sort of splicing, I could have improved that by increasing the meshing settings for my robot. Alright, and that looks like crap. But you guys can go through and start to adjust some of the settings on these guys. Okay? Alright, and I'm just going to go ahead and change the time of day to make this a little bit more consistent lighting. And then we'll position him. And then I'm going to go ahead and set my output. So under the renderer tab here, back on common, so under the render settings, if you guys have closed that out, we can pull this down, and I'm going to go ahead and set this to a reasonable size rendering, and hit render. This might take a little bit to process. Alright, and so through the magic of editing, I've gone ahead and taken all the processing time out of that. And so you guys will be able to see this, and I'll just go ahead and save this rendering out. I'll probably do a little bit of Photoshop work, increase the exposure, adjust the levels and the curves before I post it for you guys to see, but that's essentially it.